Hey everybody, I'm David with Bolivar Live, and it's time with Insurance Talk. Once again, I'm here with Dan Priest and Priest Insurance, and today's going to be a little different show. For those of you that don't know Dan, one, we usually don't know what we're going to talk about until we get to wherever we're going to record. Today we're in the studio. But two, every year Dan takes a fishing trip, or his buddies come down here, and they take a week of fishing.
Yep.
And we were sitting here talking. We're going to get to boat insurance before this is all over with, but we were sitting here talking about funny things that we've seen. And I got to tell you this one. You're talking about the guy trying to get across the intercoastal in a storm.
In a rubber raft,
In a rubber
holding
raft.
a trolling motor.
Well, I pull into Bolivar Yacht Base, and this was when I first started guiding. And I always told my customers, go grab you a cold drink while I clean your fish and watch the boat ramp. It's hilarious. And so I get done cleaning the fish, and I walk over and we're talking, and we see this lady back in a boat trailer down, and her husband's in the boat out, and he's waving her back and waving her this way, and just really, she was doing a fine job, but he was trying to direct her. And at one point, he got mad and told her, damn it, no, pull up more. Well, she pulled up more. And she pulled out of the boat ramp, spun the tires, went down, and she went to the far end of the parking lot, spun around, parked the boat trailer, and come walking back. And as she walked by the boat ramp, her husband's like this, she said, you're so damn good, you go back it in. And she went in and looked at me and she said, we've got to drive back to Huntsville. It's going to be a long drive home for him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's some funny things that happen, but there's also boat insurance.
Okay.
And, a storm hits, you've got to have boat insurance to cover it, hopefully.
Yeah.
If you can't pull it out, you hit a reef. Maybe the tide's lower than what it is. Maybe you're trailering it down and a rock flies up and hits your windshield. Those are all different scenarios where insurance come into play.
Yeah.
Don't know if it's boat insurance, don't know if it's vehicle insurance, but you're going to tell us.
Sure. So, okay. So talking about boat insurance and things that have happened and just things I've witnessed at boat ramps and on the water. You have liability insurance when you're going down the road. It's automatically extended from your truck. So things that happen, maybe you don't have your hitch in properly and you forgot to put the pin in and you get down the road and it pulls out.
Right.
And your boat comes off. Things happen. They just like that. Or you get in a wreck and myself pulling a boat one time, I took a corner and it hit, and it was my dad's boat. And next thing I know, the trailer's behind me, but the boat's passing me on the left side, and that wasn't a good sign. All that stuff is
Talking about road rash.
Yeah, that's liability. So if that boat would have hit another vehicle, you're covered and extended down your truck from your truck insurance. However, what's not covered is what happened to the hull. So that would be covered under boat coverage, whether you're driving down the road and you have an accident, it comes off the trailer, whether you're like the poor people in Florida from what has happened recently and your boat ends up on the road, or what I've seen, you mentioned on a reef, we had 4 guys waiting on a shoreline and somebody was trying to get into a lake, and on the map it looked like an opening was there, but it was really an underwater reef, and he put that boat 50 yards on top of the reef and it turned sideways. Well, towing, get your boat off there, and if you ever have a need for a tow, it's a very expensive thing, and you can get $500 to $1,000 in towing coverage for them to come get you, pull you off the reef, take your boat back, okay?
Pump it out on the way back.
Pump it out on the way back. Then you have hull coverage for collision that will replace the bottom of your hull, or as I've seen at a boat ramp, 5:30 in the morning, and the line for bait, line for croakers can get extensive, right? Watched a guy one day with his son in his brand new boat on a concrete boat ramp. He's backing it down. Well, it's a brand new boat ramp on rollers, and he's unhooked it, and it hit the start of the ramp, and the boat came off
before the water was there.
Before it got to the water, and it landed on the engine, and it just bounced 3 times all the way off that trailer. And that was a very quiet boat ramp as they winched that boat back up. And people kind of just gathered around. Nobody said a word. The damage to that lower unit is covered.
Covered.
The damage to the hull is covered. And you know, boat insurance is funny. It's not very expensive.
It's sort of like golf cart insurance.
It's kind of like golf cart insurance. Yeah. And the thing is, you don't know what happens. There's submerged things on a lake shoreline. There's submerged things, you know, out in the bays, and you never know when something's going to happen. So it's really easy coverage to have. I know boats are expensive, and a lot of people have them now. But also the things that are on the boat, you know, rod and reels.
They're getting up there.
You know, you have 6 rod and reels on there, and you know somebody steals them.
Yeah.
You know, you've lost something. So all of that's covered. Make sure you review it, your liability in the event that you
ever need it.
Take a waiter out in the morning when you're driving on a.
It's sort of like all the insurance we talk about. It's not a matter if you're going to need it. It's a matter of when you're going to need it.
In most situations, and you know the funny thing is, it's not always the things you're expecting.
Right.
And
just like anything.
Just like anything, and it's the things you don't even think about, and that'll happen.
Real quick, something popped into my head.
This is never going to go well.
You know,
what happens in this scenario with this and this?
You can't write home insurance after a storm passes a certain line.
All property and casualty is that way.
Okay. Does anything like that fall into boat or recreational activity? I mean,
yeah. So they do moratoriums on like, you know, just if you think about it, you know, hurricanes entering the Gulf, and you've got your golf cart and your boat down there. It's not logical for an insurance company to write that as it's bearing down. Oh, I'll just wait until the storm's right there and insure everything. So you have to do that ahead of time.
So it has a cutoff point too.
Yeah, it's everything. The same. Whenever there's a binding restriction in place, it's for property and casualty insurance.
Okay. That was one of my questions. You know, what just popped in because of the Helene that just came in.
That's a rough
and you
thing.
know, it's not. Keith and I were talking the other day. And, you know, Florida is like us. Our houses are built up. They'll survive. You know, they'll rebuild, build the stairs back on, replace a couple walls downstairs. But when you get up into the Carolinas and that, you know, their houses are built on the ground and they were miles from a river. But the house is washed off the slab or it's gone. You know, it's just... the damage they have up there is I would have never thought that.
I wouldn't have either, and I don't think anybody does. And that's a really good conversation to bring up, and we'll be brief.
That'll be another show.
It can be another show, but if you compare like what happened there in Florida, which it hit in an area that wasn't terribly populated, but it beat up Tampa, right? It was a Cat 4 with a similar surge that we had with Ike, but the winds were a Cat 4 wind, which we had Cat 2 with Ike. So every storm's different. It got up in the Carolinas, installed, and there's going to be some downstream flooding.
I think we had 14 to 17 foot storm surge, or 14 foot, if I'm not mistaken. Down there, I was seeing 9 and 10. I don't know what they ended up having. I hadn't really heard that because I've been actually watching everything up in the Carolinas and Tennessee and Georgia, just seeing everything and how. What's really caught my attention, or it's not, you don't hear that much about the government, but what I am seeing, especially on social media, are the individual groups that have, the helicopter pilots. I mean, it was crazy. There was 10 or 12 helicopters, privately owned, flew in, they all got together and started flying out, you know, out of their pocket, flying out, taking water and insulin and getting people out of where they could. And some of the areas they were landing in, I mean, made me cringe when I watched some of the videos. But that's what's really caught my attention is the community and the individuals that have come together to help those people in time and, you know, in that time. I mean, as soon as they could get up there, helicopters were there within, I think, 48 hours.
You know,
And so,
we are getting off on another subject, but that's what we do.
Yeah.
That's what our country does, and that's what good people do.
and we saw stuff like that down here during Ike, you know. And in the insurance industry, you've made comments that, you know, when you finish with your stuff, you've helped other people take care of stuff so that their customers are taken care of, or, you know, helping friends and stuff. And so, anyway, you know, Dan, you never know where our shows are going to go, but I can tell you they're interesting because, and I know Dan sweats every once in a while when I say, you know, I was thinking, because he knows I'm going to pull something way out of the bottom of the barrel. So, Dan, thanks for joining us.
Sure.
Hope you enjoyed the pictures you saw of their little fishing trip, a yearly event Dan has down here with some friends. And they always go home with a lot of shrimp. Y'all bought, 130 pounds, I think Chris said,
we had
150?
150, yeah.
And they divide it up, they package it up, and everyone goes home with bags of shrimp, because this time the fishing was tough, wasn't it?
Little rough fishing this trip. We had a northeast wind and a north wind that kind of
that makes
pretty
it tough
steady.
anytime.
Straight down the bay.
Yeah. So, well, we're going to head on out. Hope you enjoyed this real estate or insurance talk.
I'm the insurance guy.
The insurance, it's been crazy down here this week. So, Dan, thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week with another show with Dan Priest talking insurance here on Bolivar Live. Until next time, I'm David with Bolivar Live. Y'all have a great day, great week. Come see us. God bless, and bye-bye.